Hey everyone, so today we're going to start our unit on graphing linear equations. And in order to do that, we need to understand what slope is, what the word means, what it looks like, and how to find it when we're given 2 points. So that is our goal for today. So slope is how steep a line is. Maybe you've been snow tubing or skiing or at a skate park. So you know the word slope has shown up a lot in those different places. If it has like a very mild slope, it's not steep. And then there's other like mountains that are very steep, like black diamonds, if you're familiar with like snowboarding and skiing. So it's how steep a line is. You can have positive, negative, undefined, or zero slope. And then these are some things that you might have seen in the past. It's called rise over run, change in y over change in x. This is the formula for how to find slope. And this says delta y over delta x, which just means change in y over change in x. This is a Greek symbol and just means change. Now this is important. Slope is also called rate of change. So that is two different ways that you can see this written in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry. Slope is the same as saying rate of change. Okay, so here are the visuals of the types of slope we can have. If it's increasing from left to right, it's going upwards like this, it's positive. If it's decreasing from left to right, it's going downwards, that's negative. I also like to think if you can create the letter N, it's negative. If it's straight across, 0. So a horizontal line, that means it's not increasing or decreasing at all. It's staying the same, it's just 0. And then a vertical line does not move left or right at all. That is undefined. So think if you can't walk up it or across it, it is an undefined slope. So this is the formula that we saw in that first slide. Or second slide, I should say, where we have 2 points, x1 and y1, x2, y2, and our slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is what we're going to be focusing on today, is how to use this formula. Okay, so finding slope from 2 points. What is the slope of the line that passes through the points 7, 4 and 11, 2? Write your answers in simplest form. So the first thing you always want to make sure is whether you have the slope formula right in front of you. If you don't, you're going to rewrite it. And I'm going to rewrite it up here. I'll give it in black though. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Get in the habit of rewriting this every time you see a question like this. It'll help you memorize it. Because if you don't have this formula memorized, then you won't be able to find the slope of these 2 points. Okay, the next thing is I'm going to label the points. So I'm going to rewrite these points, 7, 4 and 11, 2. Now I'm going to label this. I'm going to label this x1, x2, y1, y2. It's very, very important that you keep those numbers together. So it has to be 1, 1, 2, 2. So our 2x values, x1, x2, y1, y2. So now once we label that, we're going to plug our values into the formula and simplify. I'm going to be using parentheses when we substitute, just like we do normally. Okay, so I'm going to have my slope is equal to, here's my fraction. Now y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is 4, over x2, which is 11, minus x1. I'm going to put that in parentheses, and I'm going to put this in parentheses. Okay, from there, we're going to simplify. 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and 11 minus 7 is positive 4. So we have negative 2 over 4. In this case, we have a fraction that can be simplified. So we're going to simplify that fraction. A number that can go into both of these is 2. So if you simplify this by 2, you're going to get negative 1 over 2. That is what our slope is. So I'm going to write slope equals -1/2. So that is the slope in between these 2 points. Okay, so if you have a fraction, make sure you simplify it. Okay, let's look at another example. What is the slope of the line that passes through the points -1, 10, and -1, -2? So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that formula. Because I want to have it memorized as soon as possible. Change in y over change in x. I'm going to rewrite my points. And I'm going to label them. Super important to label these. So x1, x2, y1, y2. Make sure those numbers are together. Now let's plug in our values, making sure to use parentheses. So x2, which is -2, y2, which is -2, minus y1, which is 10. And then we have x2, which is -1, minus x1, which is -1. Okay, so you have to remember your rules of subtracting integers here. -2 minus 10, that's going to give us -12. We're going further into the negatives there. And then if you want, we see two negatives that are next to each other, that becomes a plus. -1 plus 1 is 0. -12/0. Now, hopefully you remember that we cannot divide by 0. If you were to put this in the calculator, you would get an error message. So that means that this slope is undefined. So slope here is undefined, which is totally fine. It just means that this line, when we graph it, when we graph these 2 points and we connect them, it is a vertical line, just like when we saw those visual representations of slope. So it's okay to get the 0 in the denominator, but you have to remember that if that happens, that means the slope is undefined.